Hi everybody, it's Savoy 1984 here. I've been meaning to do this for a while. It's one of my favourite books of all time. I know when people talk about Stephen King, and for obvious reasons, they're going to mention novels, because obviously he writes a lot of novels, probably more novels than every combined, it seems like, which is kind of cool. But this particular book, I feel like I've had this book my entire life, even though I only got it. Well, I'll come to that in a second, the date when I got it, but I've had this book for a long time. It was what was that? £4.99. I hope that's going out on the camera. £4.99 when I first got it. But yeah, I've had this book for a long time. It's the Stephen King Companion, edited by George Beahm, which you can you can read. And yeah, I feel like I've had this book ever since I was at school. But I can't have done that because I left school in 1990. And according to the copyright information in the front there, it says copyright 1989, this edition published in 1991. So technically it kind of existed in the when I was at school, but it says this edition published by Futurama in 1991. So obviously it couldn't have actually had it because I didn't leave school till 1990, like I say. But anyway, I must have had this book since then because I feel like I've had it forever, and it's basically a great reference book. Everything Stephen King up until that point, it really does focus on everything from him buying like an AM radio station to all his movies, his books, interviews with him, excerpts from other people's interviews. As you can tell, it's like a pulp novel. It's aging really badly. It's not really badly because it's kind of cool. And I've got my little markers where it reminds me of things. But this book kind of reminds me of, there used to be when I grew up with my parents, a couple of people used to live across the street and they were into gambling, or still are, as far as I know. And one of those people had a book that, like a little tiny little reference book that was, it has all the odds for horses and how to work out your bets. And even though it was really old and it was in like pounds and shillings and pence and the odds were crazy and all this, it figured out a system to make this book relevant even for years and years and years, and up until the last time I saw him, they still use this book, probably still do, like I say. But it's kind of like with this book, because this book's, like I say, knocking on a bit now. The thing that I really like about it is it's just on that cusp of to talk about conventions in one part, and it's kind of like the home video market's coming in, and even though it's kind of like before the internet really, quite relative, few years, maybe 5-6 years before the internet, it still holds water to this day. Kind of, that's the right phrasing. But every so often, it's a shame that this book is kind of sort of run its course, and it's a great reference book, but it doesn't focus on some of the newer stuff. I often just pull something out of the bag, but I'll get to that if I remember to get to the parts that reminded me on that it's still a relevant book. But I still love looking at it anyway. But this page here, this kind of made me laugh. I've got like a 6-year-old nephew, and a few years ago I passed him this book and he pulled out this page, which I thought was really funny, so I had to stick it back in. So that's kind of adds a little charm. I always think of that now that my nephew pulled out that page. Kind of bizarro picture of Stephen King. It's a great picture though. He's got a snake's head in a glass ball. But yeah, there we go, Stephen King Companion. And like I say, obviously I can't go through the whole thing because it's got hundreds of pages. Oh, he's a cat. Hello, Mindy. It says contents page, and like I say, it's literally got so much information in it. It's not even funny. It's kind of just like it really is spectacularly sort of useful. Like I say, even now, I mean, most of the Stephen King films that this talks about is kind of, are kind of really familiar with them anyway, and kind of like like here I've got like they're just like the personal information of when he was born, and always find that kind of stuff. If you ever just want, oh, how old's Stephen King now, or what was his first book, or what alternate names did he write, and I can just pull this book off the shelf and got a list of his books, like I say. But like I say, it's just really a fascinating book. It's just like ridiculously useful for like things like dates and you know, like I say, how much, you know, a rental copy of you know, Christine cost, and you know, things like that. You know, like I say, and like things like that, audio cassettes of some of his books and things like that. So it's always kind of useful. But like I say, it's what's funny is, like I say, it's just so densely detailed. It's kind of hard to sort of know where to start, really. But more than anything, I just wanted sort of people to be aware that this book exists, and I'd really like to get an updated version or a similar book, because it's kind of like I say, it's one of those books where it really is, you know, ridiculously, you know, I know I'm repeating myself and I'm kind of waffling, but it really is ridiculously talented. That's not the right phrase. It was talented, the guy who put it together, George Beahm. Yeah, and this is if I can find the bit that I'm sort of talking about. The bit that made me realise this book was still, like I say, I know all books are relevant, you know, even if they're old. I mean, you know, you can still look at the same books over and over again. But I think with reference books, obviously, it's good if they're up to date. But there was one bit in this book that really made me sort of think that, you know, this book is sort of really sort of you know, worthy of sort of, you know, keeping on the shelf. Was this a few years ago when The Mist come out, and me and my mate were talking about The Mist, I thought, oh, I wonder if like there's anything in there, you know. So I just pulled out this book, and boom, there it was, on about The Mist. And The Mist is, the, you know, only a few years old now. I say I had this book, you know, basically in the 80s, and it's got something about it in there. It's like really awesome. And like I say, there's so much stuff in here. Like it's Christine, one of my favourite, you know, John Carpenter, you know, Stephen King sort of films. Like I'm more into the films, really. I mean, you know, I'm not much of a reader, you know, which probably says a lot about my videos and how I'm speaking right now. But like, it's, you know, it's like I say, it's got such a lot of good reference. Like here, it says here about like I'm trying to find like there Cujo, and you know, it says, what will it say? Oh yeah, like it says there, like Firestarter, available on video for $79.95. You know, so it's got kind of like, you know, really old information. But I always kind of, and that's kind of sweet, really, that like, you know, people forget how much videos used to cost. And like the where is it? Oh, Christine, like I was saying about Christine, $79.95. So that's kind of like a funky thing. But yeah, like I say, it's kind of cool, and like I say, kind of waffling, but like I say, check it out if you see it anywhere. Really awesome book, worth every penny. And thanks for listening if anybody got to the end. Okay, see you later, bye.